but she had a promise to keep, to miracle with Ben remain. No barrier but hate to steal, a promise to miracle.
During the conference, I was deeply moved listening to the representatives of 12 faiths share how their traditions understand love, intimacy, and marriage. Each spoke with a conviction that seemed to draw breath from the same timeless source, though their paths differed in form and purpose. Hathi and Zalundi, Catholic and Latter-day Saints, Estolian, Muslim, and others, each voice distinct, yet all joined in reverence. I came away humbled, recognizing that every faith, no matter how remote or restrained, believes just as fervently in its deity's benevolence and guidance as I do in the sacred bond I've been blessed to know. Gideon Zakarian, Designates Journal.
The next morning, after sleeping in and another session of lovemaking, they both donned simple robes in the royal colors. Breakfast was served by the same two acolytes, who then discreetly vanished, leaving them alone in the seclusion suite. Kat looked around, curious about the space where she was spending the most profound moments of her life. A thick, curved wall of glass stretched from the bathroom to the dining area, separating the suite from an enchanting garden. Outside, a sparkling brook burbled down a series of miniature falls, then spread out into a sprawling, meandering pond before its waters crept through a slender crevice between two jutting rock walls. In the garden were flowering trees, herbs, and a single stone bench. The space seemed to breathe with the quiet rhythm of romantic poetry married to peace. The meandering pond held foot-long koi, their scales flashing like scattered coins beneath the water's surface, and even a couple of small turtles basking on the rocks. A few chattering squirrels darted among the branches, as if claiming the garden as their own sanctuary. Inside the seclusion suite, the furnishings were simple. A half-moon-shaped table that looked like it was designed for romantic dinners for two, but there was enough space so that up to 6 individuals could sit at the table. In the dining area, there was a small refrigerator and a simple counter and cupboard beneath it. Beverages were in the fridge. Waist-high rails on either side of the tiled entranceway helped delineate the suite's distinct spaces. To one side lay the dining area, to the other, a compact sitting room with a desk and chair set along the inner wall, and a love seat facing the garden. A third rail, identical to the two by the entrance, bore a thick braided velvet rope affixed to its edge, allowing the tapestry to be tied back and giving the suite a greater sense of openness. The luxury of the large bed was obvious. At its foot stood a chest, and near the head a small walk-in closet. Identical night tables flanked the bed, and beside the chest an arched entrance led to an elaborate bathroom, nearly half the size of the suite itself. Near this archway, another thick braided golden rope fastened the second tapestry, so that the garden beyond extended the feeling of space and serenity. While the physical size of the seclusion suite was modest, its design was remarkably sophisticated, crafted to feel larger than it was, and to surround the new couple with sensory delights that gently engaged all 5 senses.
"Do you mind if I write for a short while?"
Ben asked, his tone gentle and unhurried. She shook her head. After he settled at the small desk, she came up behind him, resting her hands on his shoulders and releasing a quiet sigh of relief. The page offered no clue as to what he was writing. The symbols were unlike any she had ever seen. Instead of crossing the page from left to right, the lines descended in clean, vertical cascades, like the tapestry that hung beside their bed, falling in an unbroken sweep to the floor. She was quietly awed by the ease and confidence with which he wrote, each motion deliberate, assured, and beautiful.
"I will teach you how to speak and write the Estolian language,"
he said, his tone warm.
"It is easier than it seems."
With his head bent to the task, the nape of his neck caught her eye, and she couldn't resist the temptation to feather a kiss on his exposed flesh. He swiftly finished the column of text he was working on, then surged to his feet and took her into his arms for another passionate kiss, his writing task forgotten. As their seclusion drew to a close, Kat wondered what the next day would bring. She remembered Ben and Zeke's insistence about her choices. They told her she could choose to reject Ben after 7 days. But she didn't want to reject him. The exquisite way he made love to her, the cherished feeling he gave her, she didn't want to give that up. And yet, she was wary of the emotion others called love. She wasn't sure if she could honestly proclaim a love she didn't yet feel. Was it possible to keep him when asked tomorrow and still reserve the right to end the relationship later? She needed to find out. If her only 2 choices were binding, could she choose Ben and all he stood for? Or should she turn him down because she wasn't sure it would last? One thing she knew, she couldn't bear responsibility for her husband's death. Above all, she wanted him to live a long and fruitful life. She waited in the dining area for Ben to finish dressing. She wore a dress Mandy had bought for her just before her fateful flying lesson. It was a continuation of the tiger stripes the stylist had insisted on coloring her once boring brown hair. But it suited her. The orange and black stripes made her look like an exotic jungle cat. She looked up as Benzerik left the bedroom area and marveled at the thin band of gold around his head. It looked like a vestigial crown. He touched the band of gold self-consciously at her look.
"Sorry, Kat,"
he said.
"I was told it was required of me. The reason—"
He paused, and she was fascinated by the glow of his blush before he finally continued.
"The reason I must wear it is that, had our history gone differently, I would have been the heir apparent. Even now, if necessary, I might be called upon to fill a hereditary role. It is this blood relation that meant I was given this royal treatment."
He gestured around at the seclusion suite.
"And why I must wear this. The best part about it is that, ultimately, I am unlikely to be called upon to fill those shoes. But I'm not allowed to forget my heritage."
"You look very handsome,"
Kat said softly. He flushed and looked away, his gaze drifting to the large bed unmade and rumpled from their earlier passion, before the approaching end of their seclusion had required them to shower and dress.
"I used to be one of the acolytes in charge of this suite, keeping it in perfect condition for when it was needed. During the year I oversaw it, it was used many times. It is reserved,"
he said, turning to her,
"for royalty, but when it is not required by any of the royals, it may be requested by any couple marrying in Estolia."
She remembered the extraordinary flavor of the mayberry fruit mingled with the wine, and was not surprised that the sweet was used often.
"It is given unto the least of Estolians to experience all that the greatest take for granted. None is better than another, none is greater. Estolia is a land of equals in fortune, purpose, and posterity. The only inequality that exists is the calling of royalty, to fulfill the promise of Zacharias, that the land may remain as blessed as when deity first visited Zacharias."
Ben's voice carried the cadence of one reciting a sacred lesson. She had to fulfill her promise to young miracle Zacharian, had to live up to her earlier declaration that she would remain with Ben unless she discovered hatred in her heart. She crossed over to Ben and placed her hand on his chest, feeling the frantic beating of his pulse.
"I choose to accept you, Benzerik Zacharian, to remain with you, a part of you, for all our days."
But